Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today I'm doing an opening on the WWE Heroclix Rock and Sock Connection starter set. Now this is one I've been meaning to do for a while. I've had this for about 3 months, just under 3 months, waiting for the motivation to come to finally do a video opening it. Because I knew it was going to be a big undertaking, because I'm basically going to go through everything. I'm going to go through the figures, I'm going to go through the maps, I'm going to go through the WWE rules, we're going to go through everything. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the contents, then we'll have a look at the WWE rules so we know what we're doing, and then we'll get into the figures, because as much as I'd like to do the figures first, it kind of makes sense to find out what they actually do first. So this is an interesting product. Obviously it's got most of your favourite Attitude Era stars in it: The Rock, Mankind, Steve Austin, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Ric Flair. Do you remember Ric Flair and his incredible role in... You remember Ric Flair from the Attitude Era? Do you remember? Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one. So yeah, this is the only product that, you know, when they started revealing how this set was going to be, this is sort of the only product I retained interest in. $7.99 price point put me off the individuals, and my general lack of interest for the figures in the Mixed Match Challenge set put me off that, but this having a regular RRP for a starter set was quite nice, kept me interested, and obviously you get most of your favourites there anyway. I have come around a bit to the singles now that I've found them a little bit cheaper, but still I think $7.99 was a bit excessive. So yeah, this was more or less the only thing I was planning on getting, and obviously now I've found things cheaper, been opening a couple of other things as well, so you can check out those videos in my channel. Without any more waffling, let's get on with this now. So if we look on the back, we've got some really cool graphics on this box. For one thing, you get all the sculpts down the side, of course. But if you look on the back, we can see 6 game piece starter sets, 6 collectible miniatures, 6 character cards, of course, 3 object and terrain token sheets, a powers and abilities card, a rulebook, 2 full colour maps, which you don't always get in historically in Heroclix starters, and 2 dice. So you basically get everything you actually need to play, which again is not necessarily that common in a Heroclix starter set. You don't necessarily actually get everything you actually need, but in this instance you do. Ric Flair just doesn't fit in there. I mean, they could have just put in, like, I guess, you know, Ric Flair's inclusion is a bit weird to me. I guess, you know, it's another big star they could put in here, but, I mean, you know, it also could have been Trish Stratus, and you could have actually had some, like, female representation, or whatever. Right, okay, we've got a long video ahead, so let's just, let's rip this open and get on with it. Two reasons why I've taken so long to make this. One, because I knew it was going to be a long undertaking of sitting down and going through everything, and the other is waiting for sunlight. But we got the sunlight today. It's the first sort of reasonably bright day for quite a while, and probably will be the last one for quite a while as well. So yeah, I thought we'd better just crack on, and here we go. So first of all, let's have a look at the sculpts. So we got The Rock first. They've done really well to get sort of like the decals in pretty good condition on his trunks and his tattoo there. Obviously we can see the classic The Rock logo there as well. A little bit of paint missing there, not sure whether I'm brave enough to try and tighten that up or not, but yeah. So there's The Rock. Doesn't seem to be focusing in particularly well. I'll see if I can get it focused a bit. There we go, that's a bit better. It annoys me that with this camera I have to like stop the recording and start again to get it focused in. Could just have a button for it, but yeah, okay. Next in line we have Mankind, of course, to go with the sock half of the Rock and Sock starter, and he seems to have kept the focus. This is quite an interesting sculpt. Obviously it's an easy bit of sculpture use for them to just sort of get rid of the tie and make him brown. That'd be cool, although I'm pretty sure they're doing the main set Mankind in the next set and he just is the same, but whatever. Next we have Steve Austin. Now it was actually the main set Steve Austin's preview that put me off bothering with these at all, because his defense values were just terrible, and I was like, yeah, that's not Steve Austin. But to be honest, this one starts off on flurry, so he doesn't have any moving attack, so to be honest, not a massive fan of this one either, but it could be quite interesting and we'll get into that later on. It looks like it says Austin, that looks like it says 315 on the jacket because it's a little bit scraped off, but again, oh wow, look at that. That's really quite well detailed there. Must be a decal. Very, very small decal. We'll go Ric Flair next. So, Ric Flair's got a great sculpt. Like, I really like this. It's almost more like a bathrobe than a Ric Flair robe, I think. But still, it's pretty nice looking. Got a nature boy on the back there. But they're really nice sculpts. They're really well detailed, these. I'll try not to go into it too much. But yeah, next we have Triple H. Now this brings me on to something I quite like with the WWE figures is, I'm not sure if you're even going to be able to see this on the video, but there's actually glitter within, or it might actually just be stuck to the outside of the water spray, which just makes it look fantastic. It looks really good. So there's Triple H. Not really bothered with any decals on him, except a very thin iron cross on the crotch. The thing I don't really understand about the Triple H is why this is the only one that has a wash on the body. It's not exactly a common thing for Heroclix to have a wash after the paint job, but if you look at all of the others, they don't have one. But Triple H does. Very odd. Then we've got Shawn Michaels. Again, same again. Got the glitter in the in the pyro there, rather than just having the clear plastic. Very interesting. Very nice decals on him as well. Looking very, very cool, these guys. Very, very nice sculpt on these. Oh, the glitter's coming off in my hands though, that's a bit sad. So, you know, if you overplay these, you're going to run out of glitter again eventually, but I suppose you don't really have to handle those parts. And then we've got the two dice as well, of course. Don't think we really need to take a look at those. Move that out of the way, and we'll get on to the literature. So, oops, we'll just push them out the way for now. So, we have the maps. Again, when they say two maps, that means it's double-sided. Doesn't mean you get two different maps, which is a bit of a pain. The Batman animated starters had so many maps, but, you know. So WWE Training Center endorsed, not even called a Performance Center, which is a bit of a shame, but whatever. Maybe the other one's Performance Center, who knows. Okay, so we've got the WWE pack here that we'll go through in a second. We've got the WWE Heroclix Single Universe Core Rulebook, which is, you know, it's essentially the core rulebook now when just playing the regular game. Obviously, if you're playing your WWE figures, it is a mixed universe game. We'll get into that pack in a second, but we'll just finish going through here for now. So we've got the object tokens. These are really cool. We've got the dented trash can, briefcase. So you could do money in the bank sort of scenario or something. Table, ladder, chair. Oops, chair came straight out there. So you could do like a TLC stipulation or something. That's cool. We've got the steel steps there, dented trash can. I like how the ladder is a light object. Like, I like how everyone in the Marvel universe and DC universe and everything, every newspaper boy can just pick up a ladder and twat you with it. I guess most people can carry a ladder, but swinging it around is a little bit different. No heavy objects on the back though. 3 object and terrain token sheets, so these are all the token sheets. So I guess they just put light objects in due to the fact that no one in the WWE set has super strength, and that's something I ranted on a little bit in my Kane opening about, because I feel like Kane probably should have had super strength, but no, it is what it is. They've clearly got a definition in their head of how strong a wrestler is in comparison with a superhero. Not saying that's right or wrong, but it's, you know, it's what they want to be. I personally think they've sort of jeopardised some things with the WWE figures. In some of the things with the WWE figures, they've tried to make it so that they aren't as good as superheroes, and I think that's just jeopardised the playability of some of the figures. Whereas with other universes, you know, it's kind of unquestioned. The Star Trek characters didn't exactly get a bad set of figures out of it. Finally, we've got the character cards, which again we'll get into later. But now we'll just put all these bits back away, and we'll have a quick look at the special pack for the WWE Heroclix figures. Now, they revealed early on that the pack here was going to be usable so that if you have a Pick a Power figure and you have a WWE figure on your team, you can access this pack as well. And I thought that meant that the cheapest WWE figure was just going to get chucked on every Pick a Power team to access this pack. I guess it's not that game breaking. I haven't really heard of these guys turning up at all. But, you know, I guess we'll see. Okay, so first of all, we've got Flurry, obviously a classic power. Then we've got Flying Leap. It's a power action with improved movement hindering and characters. Move up to 3 squares, then make a close attack, modifying attack +1. If this character started adjacent to 2 ropes, also modify damage +1. Now, I've been informed that the ropes also include hindering terrain and blocking terrain, so, you know, that makes it a little bit better, but I feel like it could have just been defined as hindering terrain, and the ropes could have been as well. And that's not a bad power at all, you know, it's kind of like a big sidestep. Gives you a +1 at your attack. It's alright. It's pretty good. Slingshot, knockback, but may choose the direction and can knock back characters that can use charge or combat reflexes. Free, make a close attack targeting an adjacent character that this character knocked back this turn. Now that's obviously good. However, it means you have to have something else with it. And I don't really like that in this particular game. Obviously, there are games where you can build around that kind of thing. But in this particular game, it means the figure itself has to be designed around getting this off. I mean, they could just be focused around having the trait knockback, really, but basically this is the good part, the free close attack. So it essentially means you have to have sidestep or giant reach or something like that. Luckily, some people like Andre the Giant have multiple things that can allow them to do that, but yeah. I don't like the fact that you need another power for it to really sort of work. Lightning speed, power, improved movement characters again. Move up to 3 squares, then make a close attack, then move up to 2 squares. So it's like very small hypersonic speed. It's not bad at all. It's not massively different to Flying Leap, really. You know, a lot of these are just free moving attacks, but to be honest with you, they could do with more moving attack powers in the game, because if you don't have them, you're kind of terrible, in my opinion. I mean, if you're a high point figure, I mean. Anyway, nimble, improved movement hindering, again. Breakaway +2, which is nice, and free move up to 1 square. It's just like a bad... Well, it's not like a bad sidestep, but it's like a small sidestep with a increase in breakaway and some improved movement, which is nice. I'm getting but I'm vibing that a lot of the powers in this pack aren't all that different, and to be honest, I'm not remotely surprised. I thought they'd be mostly like rehashing the same stuff. To be honest, I'm not really surprised so far, but yeah, it's kind of interesting that they thought it was worth introducing a new pack for these dudes, and then basically just sort of putting out quite similar powers, but whatever. Okay, next we have reversal. Adjacent opposing characters have breakaway -2. Free, if this character has been given no action tokens or only a move action this turn, make a close attack targeting a character that missed this character or failed to break away from this character since your last turn. Okay, so opposing characters have less breakaway, so that's good. Make a close attack targeting a character that missed this character or failed to break away from this character since your last turn. It's not bad at all. It does mean you have to kind of keep track of who did what, but I guess, you know, in theory it shouldn't be too hard to remember. That could be an interesting power, or it might not be. I don't really know. But it does mean you can have a full moving attack if you have been missed or failed to break away, at least. And it is a free action as well, actually, I've just realised as well. So actually there's a really good little addition to it. It would be good if it was just a free move and attack, to be honest. So the fact that it is actually a free action as well, especially when it includes characters that try to break away from them, yeah, that's a pretty good one. That's probably the best one so far, in my opinion. Slam, I think this is the one that's the most commonly used. Close, make a close attack, obviously. After resolutions, choose one. Give a hit character an action token, or place a hit character in a square adjacent to this character. Now, that give the target an action token is so common nowadays. They just chuck that in sort of everything. But the fact that you also get the option to put someone in an adjacent square is very interesting. You could do all kinds of things with that. It's a little bit of maneuverability, so, you know, it's very interesting. Stun, when this character hits 1+ characters, a hit character modifies attack and damage -1 until your next turn. Okay, so that's very simple. That's pretty good. That's pretty unique. That's not really something we've really seen before in the in a usual pack power. So these ones are getting a little bit different. Submission hold. Free, if this character hasn't been moved or placed this turn, deal 1 damage to target adjacent opposing character. Both characters gain immobile until your next turn. Okay, so it's just poison. That's literally just poison. Except it only works on one opposing character. It's not penetrating, and both characters gain immobile. For better or worse. Don't know if I like that or not, but I don't think I do. Now, as you can see, this defense, you only have 5 powers in total. It might be nice if they gave these guys some kind of defense power, because Lord knows this is the best damage reducer they got, so it might be nice for them to come up with a defense power. And again, no special damage powers, so that makes things a little bit easier. So if we flip it over, we've got a section on inherent abilities and improved abilities. We've also got map terrain. We've also got key phrase abilities, and WWE abilities. So we're going to get into these. I actually don't know at all what these do, so let's get on with this. Bounce. This character treats printed hindering terrain and blocking terrain as ropes. Okay. You can bounce enemies off them and fully use flying leap if adjacent to 2+ of them. We have pin. Free action. Choose an adjacent opposing character that's on a blue click number and that this character hit with their signature move this turn. You both roll a d6, and if your result is higher, deal that character 1 penetrating damage and repeat this process. If your opponent rolls a 6, kick out, that character heals 1 click. Okay, that's interesting. That's kind of fair enough. I did kind of wonder how they would bring this sort of stuff in, so that's very interesting. And as we can see here, it's actually the WWE team ability on the base that gives them these two abilities. They're the bounce pin abilities, so that's interesting. But we've also got some rules for multiverse games, which we'll get into now. Multiverse games. If any player in a game has a character on their starting force or sideline that isn't WWE, then the game is a multiverse game, and the following applies. Any pack used by such a character or game element is considered available for the entire game. For example, if you were asked to choose a standard power, you may choose from any available pack, including those used by opposing characters. Rules altered in WWE only games revert to their default versions. WWE characters may now have their willpower as part of Indomitable, chosen by Outwit, and take pushing damage. Now that's a weird thing. I don't understand why these guys can't have their Indomitable outwitted. I mean, that's just something that's gonna that's just an unnecessary little feature that doesn't really benefit them an awful lot, but also is just going to confuse people. It's just going to cause confusion in my opinion, but I digress. Improved movement, hindering and characters, stop and giant reach become their default versions. Other altered rules from the core rulebook revert as well. Okay. The WWE team ability gains additional abilities in multiverse games. So in full games, we also have these following abilities. WWE rules. This character can't be the target of attacks or outwit if they're on click 1. They're on a click with a blue click number, or they've already been targeted by a ranged attack this turn. And that has protected pulse wave. Now that is what gives these guys a little bit of an edge over all the ranged characters out there, because obviously none of these have any range in the entire set. I was kind of hoping Undertaker would, having like the lightning bolts and everything, but guess not. So that's sort of how they get away with it, is by being completely untouchable by a ranged attack or outwit while on the first click, or on a blue click number, which appears to be the last couple of clicks on the dial for Steve Austin. I don't know if that is the same for all of them. Does it say on the card? It does, yeah, okay. It looks like it's just the last 3 clicks on each card, it seems. So that's cool. So it means there can't be ranged attack towards the end of the game. Bit of an interesting one. It doesn't even have that WizKids clarity of unless they're the only figure on the board. So, or they've already been targeted by a ranged attack this turn. Now that is something I'm going to forget about. I'm going to forget about they've already been targeted by a ranged attack this turn. I'm never going to remember to say you've already shot him once. But, you know, we'll see. We've also got Grand Entrance. During your first turn, if this character is in your starting area, they have free move. That's pretty good. So they all get a free move. I'm starting to think it's the rules in these that actually make them good, rather than the figures themselves. I guess maybe they were trying to keep the figures themselves simple for people learning the game, and in multiverse games they needed to be buffed up a bit against other dudes. Then the WWE team ability becomes bounce pin, WWE rules, ground entrance, and it becomes uncopyable at that point. Not uncopyable there, but it is there, which is interesting. I mean, I suppose nothing could copy it in a WWE game, but whatever. I think that's more or less everything. I think that's everything sort of that needed to sort of go over. But what I find, so with the pack, I just feel like not an awful lot of it was massively necessary, and I can understand why this didn't set the Pick a Power world on fire. Flying Leap's quite interesting. I mean, it gives you that +1 to your attack rather than just using charge, so that's interesting. You know, there's a few interesting things, like for example, you'd never pick a power slingshot except in a very niche circumstance. So I don't know really. I mean, I guess there is benefits to this. I would probably try and put on a 55-point Eddie Guerrero if I was playing a pick a power now, just to have the extra options. If I could fit him in, like, definitely, he's a pretty good figure. But yeah, okay, so we've been through the pack now, so that means we can get onto the most fun part, which is looking at the figures themselves. Okay, so the first figure we've got here is the Rock, obviously. He has Corporation, Rock and Sock Connection, why is that a keyword? WWE Celebrity keywords. I guess Rock and Sock Connection could be a theme team if you've got the Rock, the main set Rock, the Mankind, and the main set Mankind. If they keep doing Mick Foley's and do Love and stuff as well, and keep giving them this, but they probably wouldn't do that because that sort of flies in the face of WizKids and their keyword distribution philosophy. It's a different character. I don't know. A lot of the WWE keywords are a bit useless, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, so his signature move is Rock Bottom. Close, if the Rock has 1 action token, make a close attack. Modify damage +2 if the target has no action tokens, or +1 if they have 1 action token. If he hits, a hit target modifies defense -1. So that's pretty good. So, like usual, he has to have 1 action token to be able to perform it. He gets +2 damage if they have no action tokens. Now, a lot of the WWE figures seem to, so far, punish people for having action tokens. The Rock goes a little bit different there, punishing them for not having it, which is very interesting. If they have 1 action token, it does 1 damage, and if he hits, the target gets -1 defense. Now that's pretty good. Now the main set one, I'm going to assume, does the People's Elbow. Now I feel like the main set one, the People's Elbow, you should only be able to do it if you give the Rock a move action to one end of the board, and then to the other end of the board and back, and the guy's still stood there. That's how it should work. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be stupid, but imagine how funny it would be. It doesn't matter what you think. When an opposing character would use Outwit, Perplex, or Prop to target the Rock or an adjacent friendly character, interesting. It's also protecting Mankind and his friends on this, I suppose. Roll a d6, 4 to 6. Instead, that character can't use that power this turn. Can't really argue with that. You know, that's kind of like the Rock's whole thing. And they love giving this like 50-50 chance of getting rid of Outwit, Perplex, or Prop against you. They love doing that with figures in general. I think that's a fair one for the Rock to get. Rock doesn't look like a bad figure. We've got the 7 clicks for 75 points. Toughness on each of them, but only toughness. We've got that, doesn't matter what you think, on the first 4 clicks. And then Close Combat Expert on the last 3. We've got Slam on the last 3 clicks, but obviously if you're going to be using the Rock Bottom, you're not going to be wanting to give the action token with Slam. And we've got the WWE team ability, of course, as well. Again, this figure doesn't look bad. It doesn't look game-breaking either. Obviously, we've got a lot of empty attack slots there. I'm not saying you have to have powers on every slot and every dial, but sort of would expect him to do something offensive apart from his signature move. However, I definitely don't think he's bad. And now we'll get into Mankind. Now, Mankind is my favourite one in the set, and I would have guessed outside going in that this one would be my favourite because it's always like it's always like the slightly more odd character or the slightly more obscure one that I like, and in this instance it's Mankind that, you know, takes that handle. So we got Mankind, Rock and Sock Connection, WWE, and Monster. Signature move, Mr. Socko. Close. If Mankind has 1 action token, make a close attack. After resolutions, a hit target gains a mobile and is given an action token. Now that's not bad. It's not going to tag well with the Rock doing a Rock Bottom on the same guy, but it's definitely not bad. I remember seeing people in units saying like, oh, Socko sucks, but, you know, and I was like, come on, man, he's just a sock. Cactus Jack or Dude Love, free, choose one. Mankind can use Perplex until your next turn, or heal Mankind 1 click. So you can either heal him for free on one of these 5 clicks, or you can give him Perplex, and that's pretty good. Now he starts off on regular Perplex anyway, and he actually has some really badass combat values to start off with. This guy's only 70 points. The Rock is 75 points. I thought for a second I'd misread it. WWE team ability, Indomitable, of course. We've got the toughness all the way through again. 7 clicks again. This guy just looks more interesting, like dial-wise, than the Rock. I guess, yeah, you know, some of his combat values are worse. Some of it looks worse, some of it looks better. Ultimately, I think I like him more when I start playing him. I always like having these like free heal kind of things and stuff, so I have a feeling that'll help him get a lot of playtime and help me get a lot of enjoyment out of him. But plus, he can generate 4 damage on his first click without Perplex, so it's a little bit different for some of the WWE figures, outside of the signature moves anyway, so yeah. Next we've got Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now he has WWE and celebrity keywords. Now his signature move is perhaps the most interesting move they've made in this entire set. So, crack open a 6-pack of stunners. Close. If Steve Austin has 1 action token, make a close attack. Each time he hits, after the attack resolves, he may move up to 2 squares, ignoring characters, and then make a close attack, targeting a friendly or opposing character that hasn't attacked this turn. So say Steve Austin is friendly or opposing to Shawn Michaels over here. He could stun him, then move here, and say the Rock is friendly or opposing. Like, let's say he's friendly, he can stun him even though he is friendly, just to move on to Triple H. So that's very interesting. However, he is still sitting on Flurry at the start of his dial, and you know, the best movement he has is sidestep, so you're gonna have to TK him or something. You're gonna have to position him well. I don't think you're gonna get much enjoyment out of that otherwise, except maybe in games where if you're just starting out and you're just playing the starter or whatever, you might get that. Moving attack probably won't matter as much, but moving attack is going to come to matter quickly. And then finally, he's got special damage power. Choose an adjacent opposing character. Make a number of close attacks, maximum 4, targeting the chosen character equal to the number of ropes adjacent to that character. Which is very interesting. So, basically what we can see here is Austin is one of these figures that they make sometimes where they can do a lot of attacks, but they can't really maneuver themselves very well. So this sidestep is the best you get. But you know, you could TK him around, you could carry him into position or something. You can make it work, but you're gonna have to build around making it work. That being said, I think this is an interesting figure. He's got 1 click of outwit at the start. Again, 175 points. WWE team ability. Starting off on Flurry. We've got a couple of clicks of Quake at the end there as well, actually, which is quite interesting. We've got, you know, reasonable defense values. I still think 16s are a bit low for Austin, but maybe that's just me, I don't know. Next we have Triple H. Now this guy has a buttload of keywords. He's got authority, corporate ministry. Why are either of those? He's got authority, corporate ministry, corporation, Degeneration X, evolution, WWE, assassin and politician. And the last 3 of those are the only ones I can see seeing much use. Don't really see the point in corporate ministry and corporation existing. Don't really see the point of authority existing. Degeneration X, I guess, if they were going to bring in all the dudes, but they aren't. So, I don't know. Evolution, maybe. I do think it's very interesting that they gave him the assassin keyword. That's one of the highlights of the set for a lot of people. You know, whoever designed these really knew the source material. There's a little Easter egg as well on the Andre the Giant. And there is a little thing that comes up every now and then, like the wrestling groups and stuff, of Andre the Giant doing a pedigree before Triple H. And that is actually referenced on the card. It's his close combat expert. It's called Double Underhook Facebuster. There you go, you know. Bit of interesting tribute for you. So without further waffling, let's get into the actual card. Signature move, Spinebuster. As always, close if Triple H has 1 action token. Make a close attack modifying attack and damage +1 for each action token on a target. So that's kind of what I was talking about when I said most of the other people focus on punishing people for having action tokens, whereas the Rock goes down the other end. And we have grandest entrance of them all. Charge. The first opposing character to attack each turn modifies attack -1. That's pretty cool, man. I mean, he's getting his entrance represented twice there, because he'll get his he'll get his grand entrance ability entrance, and then he'll get his entrance every turn through that, which is interesting. Significant appearance here is 2002. That's interesting. So we actually have leadership here on Triple H, representing obviously the many stables and even now companies that he has led, I suppose. We've only got that grandest entrance of them all ability on the first click. We've got leadership going into outwit, going into perplex. The defense values are pretty good. It's only 70 points this one, so you know that's quite nice. WWE team ability again, obviously, indomitable again, obviously. Don't really have much else to say about him. He's quite straightforward, really, but he's, you know, pretty interesting. Next we have Ric Flair. Now, this is one I don't really have my head around quite yet. Okay, so my apologies right now for the sudden and drastic lighting change. I actually got interrupted by my sister bringing a dog over, which meant I needed to pack everything away. So I've actually had to put everything out again, which is why everything might be in a completely different position to where it was just a second ago. But without further waffling, let's carry on. So, next one is Ric Flair. He has got Evolution, Heenan Family, and WWE keywords. His signature move is Low Blow while the ref is distracted. Close. If Ric Flair has 1 action token, make a close attack. If he hits, instead of normal damage, roll a d6 and deal the hit character damage equal to the result. Minimum 3 damage dealt. Now that's pretty good minimum. If the result was 1, also give Ric Flair a referee warning token. When Ric Flair uses his signature move, modify his attack -1 for each referee warning token he has. Okay, so that makes an awful lot of sense. It's very interesting. He does a minimum of 3 damage, which is pretty good. It's basically Blades Claw's Fangs with a minimum of 3 damage and a slight downside at the end there. But basically that's pretty good, and Blazeclaw's Fangs is not something you see a whole bunch of in this set, so you know that kind of like damage output potential is pretty good for the Nature Boy. Next we have his special attack power, Stun, but hit characters modify attack -2 and damage -1 instead. That's pretty good. Again, it's a little bit different to some of the other stuff. Actually, now I've read this guy again, I'm more of a fan of him. I think his signature move is really good, and I think that Eye Gouge is very interesting. I think he's very different. Okay, so that's very cool. He's definitely the kind of figure that's just going to annoy your opponent, and that is exactly how the Nature Boy should be. So let's take a look at his dial. My main gripe with this guy is that he is 75 points, but his signature move is good, to be fair. The defense values aren't great, and he does have prob, but it's a bit much for 75 points. In terms of movement, we're sitting on Nimble, and then Sidestep, and then Nimble again. Now, if I've learned anything in the years that Sidestep has been in this game, it's that I'm far too forgiving with it as a move and attack power, and I'm frequently proven incorrect when I believe, once again, that it is good enough as a character's move and attack. However, Nimble, slightly better, slightly worse, so we'll see if there's any difference there. For me, for 75 points, I would rather he had charge or something, especially since his damage output is not great if he can't hit that signature move. That being said, his stun is pretty good as well, so maybe rather than doing damage, he's more focused on weakening the people he hits. But yeah, and finally onto the final figure in the set, which is Shawn Michaels, D-Generation X keywords, New World Order keyword, and WWE keyword. Signature moves, Sweet Chin Music, close with improved movement characters. If Shawn Michaels has one action token, move him up to half his speed value and then make a close attack, modifying attack and damage +1 for each tuning up the band token. After resolutions, remove those tokens. That's pretty cool. Now should we find out how we get a tuning up the band token? At the end of your turn, if Shawn Michaels was not given a costed action this turn, give him a tuning up the band token. When Shawn Michaels is damaged by an attack, remove all of his tuning up the band tokens. Now, a lot of people like the potential of him jacking up the damage output on his signature move. I personally don't like it. I personally don't like figures like this. I don't like having to sort of sit and wait for the figure to be able to do something, especially when you have this this little criteria where if he takes damage he loses all of them. That's not great, because you could wait, you know, 3 turns for him to do something. It's a costed action, it's not even just an attack. So he sits there for 3 turns not doing anything, and then he just gets hit by an attack and it was all for nothing. So I really don't like that. I don't rate that at all. Shawn Michaels actually has Nimble and Sidestep, so bit easier to choose, so we don't really have to sort of work out which one's better. We can use whichever one we need. I don't think the dial is fantastic either. He's got that 2 damage value, but he does have Perplex to put up to a 3, I suppose. Ultimately, it's another one of the WWE Heroclix dials that is a bit vanilla. It doesn't really look like it does an awful lot. And ultimately, I think the thing with Shawn Michaels is he is massively relying on that tuning up the band. Ultimately, I don't think he does an awful lot outside of his own signature move, which is a bit of a shame in my opinion. The signature move should probably be a little bit of a buff, whereas in this instance it's basically all that he can really do, at least until he gets to the lower dial. And especially since I'm not a massive fan of that signature move myself, 75 points seems like the kind of point value where I'm not going to bother playing this guy very much. But you tend to get that in every starter set. There's like 1 or 2 figures where they're not for you, and so forth. So the final thing for us to take a look at here is the maps. So we have a double-sided map in this starter set, of course. So I will just unfold it, and then I'll pick up the camera so you can get a proper look around it. So on this map you have a ring here, which isn't actually any kind of terrain. In fact, this entire area here is nothing. You have a small column of hindering terrain here in the middle. So the map has linear starting areas at each end of the map. You have a large ring in sort of off to the side here with all of this around it, all of which is clear terrain. A thin line of hindering terrain here, and some exercise bikes here to provide a little bit more cover. We've got some blocking terrain off to the back here, a little sort of weights area around here. Then we have a shower block, etc. across the side, another weight room, and then map just repeats itself. So that is that map. Now what's interesting about these maps is that, of course, we've got the bounce ability that allows the WWE figures to treat hindering terrain as ropes. But what is interesting is in the rings on the maps, there is no hindering terrain around the ropes. So the ropes do not count as ropes. So that's very interesting. Then on the next side of the map we have an actual arena. This is WWE War Games Indoor. Now what's interesting about this is it doesn't actually look remotely like a WWE arena. There is far too much colour, etc. It is an interesting map nonetheless. We have the two rings, again quite off to the side. Again fully clear terrain, there's no ropes involved here. Small bit of hindering terrain there for the commentary table. There's a hindering terrain here of a crowd, obscuring terrain in the centre, and then more hindering on the side. Bit of obscuring terrain outside the starting area. Again, the starting areas are on both ends of the map. There is a cage bit of blocking terrain on each side. Entrance ramp in the centre, which is a little bit different. And then, of course, around the other side, it just repeats itself again. Nothing particularly complicated on either of them. This obviously is going to be inspiration for a lot of people doing war game scenarios where you have to place your rings in those sections. And I'm pretty sure me and my friend John are going to do that ourselves. So with that being more or less everything, let's do a quick review of the set. Well, first of all, it's an interesting set. It doesn't have any game-breaking figures in the set, but it does what a starter set is supposed to do, and that is include everything you need to play the game, which is not necessarily something that you always get from WizKids in a starter set. We got the maps, the pack, the tokens, the rulebook, the dice, etc. You've got everything you need in there, and that's pretty good. You've also got a good set of figures. They are usable, they are definitely all good, just none of them are particularly outstanding, but you don't often get an outstanding figure in your starter set anyway. You usually get that one figure in a Fast Forces that is incredible, but that's about it. But generally I think it's a very interesting set. I think that it's a very good way of getting getting a number of very large characters for a very reasonable price point, especially compared to the individual prices of these figures. And ultimately, I can't really say enough good things about this set. It doesn't set the world on fire. It's not got the most amazing figures in the world in it, but you don't really need that from a starter set. And it is very good for transitioning the gap between a wrestling fan, from a wrestling fan to start becoming a Heroclix player, because it has everything they need to learn the game in a WWE situation. It has everything they need to learn the game, either in a WWE game or in a full game. That is why I think this product is really good. That is more or less everything I can really say on the matter. That being said, thank you for watching this video. If you like Heroclix videos, then please check out my channel for more. And if you did like this video, please give it a like and a subscribe. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.